So I was kind of shocked to read this headline. But yeah, Seth MacFarlane is leaving 20th Century Fox for an NBC Universal with a new overall deal. My understanding from some of the headlines that I read is that it does involve the Peacock, which will be eventually coming out through Universal at some point. It's interesting because the majority of, obviously, Seth MacFarlane's output has been over at Fox, which is now owned by Disney. And of course, they made big news with the Orville moving from actually being like a network show to specifically just being on Hulu. I read a lot of these stories with Seth MacFarlane leaving Fox, and to me, between the lines, I feel like that, unfortunately for those of us that love Orville, I think its days might be numbered. I know that Orville is still being produced over at, Fox, like through Hulu. But I'm just concerned that this might be spelling the end of the Orville, because I just can't see. I can't see Disney wanting to continue to invest into a creator that essentially is now, so obviously aligned with Universal. Talking about the streaming wars, our streaming wars segment will be coming up. I can't see Disney being okay with that. So I fear that maybe this next season on Hulu for the Orville might be its last. Just because maybe I'm too much of a pessimist. I can't read this Seth MacFarlane signing with NBC Universal as being good for the Orville. They call me a pessimist or a doomsayer, but I fear for what this means. Now, Eric, you were reading a lot of these news stories as well. You didn't see it quite as doom as gloom as I did. What was your take on? Obviously Seth MacFarlane's going to make a ton of money, but obviously besides that, what was your takeaway from this Universal deal that he signed?
Well, the hopeful part of me is hoping that maybe Orville will actually wind up on Peacock. That's the most hopeful part of me is that's kind of my desire. I don't think there's anything in this article or anything in any of the other articles that I've read that says that could even possibly happen. But I would like to see the Orville on the Peacock simply because you don't have to pay for the Peacock. And I'm hoping that the Peacock is going to have some great content that we can talk about. And guess what? I don't have to pay for it. I don't have to do a free trial and then decide whether I'm going to continue with that series or not. So I'm hoping that the Peacock is going to have some really good content. Now, that said, there's been nothing to indicate that any of his properties are going to make this shift over. If we get into this article a little bit, it says Seth MacFarlane has called 20th Century Fox Television and Fox is home for years. But now he's moving over to NBC Universal with a new overall deal. Creator of Family Guy, American Dad, The Cleveland Show, and The Orville will see his Fuzzy Door Productions banner situated at NBC for 5 years, where he will develop TV shows for the company's various networks, including NBC and the upcoming streaming service Peacock. It says Variety has news of Seth MacFarlane's NBC deal that the network struck for $200 million. That's a hefty sum to pay for a creator who hasn't been churning out a lot of hits in recent years. MacFarlane has mostly been riding on the wave of success brought about by the revival of Family Guy, one of the first TV shows to be saved after being unceremoniously canceled. But the only recent show from MacFarlane to garner acclaim and attention is The Orville, though I suppose something could be said for the scientific educational series Cosmos, A Space-Time Odyssey, which has earned 13 Emmy nominations. So one of the things that I had read is that this does not cancel the deals at Fox. Okay, so it doesn't mean doesn't mean the Orville is going to NBC or it's being canceled immediately or anything like that. Basically, anything that he's been working on, such as like American Dad, Family Guy, the Orville, the shows that he still has in production are still going to continue, and he's still going to continue to be involved with them. So there's no, I guess, exclusivity to this deal, at least as far as the stuff is concerned that he's already been doing. It was just sort of my pie in the sky hope that maybe the Orville, after all the dust settles, quite frankly, the Orville could be canceled after the next season on Hulu, and then maybe Peacock just picks it up. I think that's a realistic scenario, isn't it? Could happen.
I know. In all honesty, I think what's going to end up happening is that I just can't see Disney wanting to continue to invest in these shows.
But if they canceled the Orville, what prevents the Peacock from just picking it up?
Well, see, my fear is that these current shows, depending upon the deal that he signed, I would be willing to bet that they have an ownership or a vested interest in them in some capacity, and they're not going to be able to just move over. Until we learn more as time goes on, maybe someone will look into this on the entertainment side and actually be able to answer some of these questions, or at least give us, more grounded theories. I just have a usually it's one of those things when you go from one place to another place, you don't just get to take whatever IP you've created somewhere else and just roll it over into your new deal, unless
and that's not the case. I mean, that's not the scenario I'm presenting. I said, the pie in the sky hope was, that maybe he would move over to Peacock, but I don't see why, if Fox did decide to stop producing Orville after this next season, I don't see anything that would prevent Peacock from picking it up. That happens all the time. That happens in the regular old network era, where a show got canceled on one network and then the other network just picks it up for another season. And this happens all the time with the streaming stuff. I mean, Amazon does it, Hulu does it. I mean, that's what happened to Orville. Now, granted, Hulu itself is still owned by the same corporate masters, if you will, right? Because, Fox is essentially now part of Disney. Although if you kind of look into the whole Fox deal, that's not quite true, because Disney didn't get the Fox network, for instance. Okay. Fox network was not part of the deal. Yeah. So, but in terms of like their content providers, Fox has kind of gotten out of a little bit out of the content creation side. That's all gone to Disney, but they still have the network. Okay. That's just one example. So Fox still exists on that level independently of Disney, and they are a platform, for lack of a better term, kind of getting out of the publisher business and becoming just strictly a platform. So now NBC Universal obviously is doing both. They are producing their own content and they are hosting content. But it's also important to know that NBC used to be a big partner in Hulu. So these companies have relationships with each other, and I just see that the possibility is there that if Hulu and Disney decided to cancel the Orville after the next season, that the Peacock could just pick it right up. I just don't see any reason why they couldn't.
Well, and the Orville, I was looking it up, is considered a joint production between Fuzzy Door Productions and 20th Century Fox. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, it would be nice. I'm just fearful, because when I first read this, all I could think of is the amount of fan support and how much people are championing the show and wanting to see the show succeed. And it would be really awful if, they just sign a deal and then the Orville basically dies in the deal.
Yeah.
That's Hollywood, and that sucks, but I'm really hoping that's not the case. But I'm pretty fearful. I mean, we'll see. Time will tell.
That's definitely something that we'll need to follow up with Orville Nation one of these days.
To see if they know something we don't too. Maybe they're more well versed in the ownership rights and what's actually happening with Orville in relation to this particular deal. Because in my mind anyway, that's the big unanswered question surrounding this is, how does this affect the Orville? Most people are just looking at it from a business news standpoint. It's like, wow, Seth MacFarlane's going to get paid a lot of money to go over here and do stuff for NBC Universal. It's like, well, that's great, but what does that mean for the stuff that he's currently producing?
Stuff, they have addressed that in other articles, that the stuff that's being currently produced is still just going to stay where it's at. Okay. There isn't an exclusivity to this deal where basically anything he's working on has to do with NBC. He can continue working on the Orville. He can continue working on Family Guy. He can continue working on American Dad, but not under NBC Universal right now. So none of those things are changing. So he still has to work with Fox Television. He still has to work. I think American Dad is like on TBS, which is Warner Brothers. So he's already had deals with different networks because American Dad's a good example. American Dad got canceled by Fox and got picked up by TBS, right?
Right.
Family Guy itself was canceled, but then they brought it back on the same network. And then Orville itself was canceled on Fox, and then they brought it back on Hulu. So I'm just saying this stuff happens all the time. Sometimes it takes a little bit of wrangling, but I don't think, even though I have some concerns like you do, I don't think it necessarily means the end of Orville, because I just think that if Disney did decide we really want to de-invest from this guy and we don't really want to support him anymore, I just think that there's a great option for the Peacock or even NBC to just go ahead and just pick it up, whatever the pieces are. So, but as far as right now, anything that's currently in production that MacFarlane's been working on, it's just staying where it's at. So that's the current status.
Right, and I understand that. I'm just concerned about beyond season 3.
I am too.
But that's my fear, because I just don't see Disney being okay with this. So
that could very well be the case, but the numbers are what's going to matter. The bottom line is they want to make money. If the Orville is a hit on Hulu, they're not going to get rid of it.
Yeah,
they're going to work with the guy.
Right.
If it's a hit, they're not going to get rid of a hit. It all comes down to dollars and cents, and it comes down to viewership and all that good stuff. So I do think it's funny, though, that as far as the buzz that I've heard, because I actually got this story from a big Orville fan, they all seem really excited about it. Like they think, oh, this is a great thing for MacFarlane, and obviously a great thing for him. But I, like you, I do question whether ultimately it's going to be a good thing for Orville fans. That's the big question, and we'll just have to see what happens.
My experience in the entertainment world is that this doesn't mean the end, but it looks like rough sailing ahead. So that's just my thought. I mean, if the Orville is a huge hit on Hulu, they're probably going to be okay. But if the Hulu continues on its trajectory, which it's been doing well, but not a huge breakout hit, as it's moving forward, that's my fear. What happens then? Because then in the suits, what's the expression they used to use, the peanut counters or whatever, the money men, they're going to look at this in a different way, and they're going to say, well, here's this show that's got modest ratings and it's been growing, but now it's sort of in a weird clutch 22 or a weird situation. How much more money do we want to keep investing in this guy that signed this huge deal with Universal? That's fear. It's going to go, well, do we want to continue to work with this guy? He's clearly not going to continue to work with us. I don't know. That's my fear. And, sometimes in the entertainment industry, people can be really petty, and I've seen it. They could be incredibly petty, and it can ruin people's careers when people decide to get petty, and it happens. So I hope that my fears for the Orville are just my own, overreaction to what I'm reading. But as a fan of the Orville, I'm a little concerned.
Yes, I share your concern. So it can definitely go that way. But I am offering another path that could happen. So
yeah. I hope your path is right and mine is wrong. We'll have to wait and see.